If you've ever wondered how successful people make time for it all, business, family, love, all while working a full-time job, you're going to find out exactly how in today's episode. Time and time again, you probably felt like there isn't enough time in the day, and that people who are killing it with their time management probably are people who have more free time or have an easier job or have an easier lifestyle, upbringing. None of that is going to affect you when you learn how to actually utilize your time really, really strategically while working a full-time job. I've done this before, so I know I'm very equipped to help you because I've done it in my personal life and I've also done it with plenty of clients. It is possible to be able to have a side business that is lucrative while working a full-time job and still have time for yourself, for your family, and for your friends so that you can live a well-balanced life. And I'm going to break it down for you so that it feels simple and intangible and you know exactly what steps to take so that you no longer feel like you're behind or that you just don't have enough time like somebody else. Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Fire Inside podcast, the podcast for ambitious, high achieving women who want to reclaim 10 or more hours of their time so they can stay consistent, grow their career, and spend time on what matters most to them without burning out, because we are not about burnout and hustle over here. We're about sustainability, balance, and systems. So if you haven't met me before, hi, hello. Thank you for watching today's video. I am Sade Kelly. I am formerly known as a time management coach, but have since decided that I am now going to rebrand as a high performance coach because I thought deep about it and I was like, I do so much more than just time management, and it's time my title encompasses that. So what I love to help women do is not only manage their time well, but also lead their lives, right? So that includes confidence, that includes clarity about what they want in their lives, that includes building boundaries and discipline in their lives, as well as systems. So that is all that I do as a high performance coach, as well as I'm a wife, a mom, an amazing friend, aunt, and all of the things, right? I'm a high achieving, ambitious woman. And I know if you're watching this, you are a high achieving, ambitious person as well. And I want to help you figure out how you can be utilizing your time better as someone who works a full-time job. So this video is very specific. I know I usually talk about like general ways in which you can manage your time well, but this is for my people who are working a full-time job, which there is nothing wrong with that. Whether you want to go full-time in your business or just want to have a side business, or if you haven't even started a business yet, we're going to talk about how you can do that while maintaining your sanity and while doing a good job at your 9 to 5. We all have the same 168 hours per week. Yes, you, me, and Beyonce. We all have the same amount of time. Now, I know just hearing that has already upset some people, and that's okay, because when we say that we have the same amount of time as somebody else, it just means that we all have 24 hours in a day, and that 24 hours a day times 7 equals 168 hours in a week. That is all I mean by it. And why I say that is because I want you to open yourself up to possibilities. The possibility that your responsibility and your priorities are different than someone else's. The support you have is different than someone else. And the only difference between you and them is that you are not utilizing your support and your systems in a way in which benefits you. So when you are not feeling like you're getting the things done that you want to be getting done, when you're feeling like things are all out of whack, and sometimes you're killing it in your work, and then sometimes you're killing it in your business, and sometimes you're killing it in your health, if you're not able to find a way to manage all of those things peacefully, it just means that something's out of whack. It just means that your current allocation isn't working for you, and that can be changed. So let's take it back to, let's say, 2017 when I started my first business. So I started my first business, which was a blog. It was called The Fire Inside, which is the name of my company now. And when I started this business, I thought this was like my $1 million idea. Well, I think at the time I wasn't even going after a million. I think I was just like, if I can make my salary, I'd be happy, which at the time was close to 6 figures, right? So I was really like, okay, I want to make sure that I can really have a lucrative business. And for me, I wanted to go full time in my business. I knew that I didn't want to be an employee for my whole life. I just knew that wasn't the path for me. I've always been entrepreneurial. Fun fact, I started my first business when I was 10 years old called Sade Snacks, and no one will be surprised by the fact that I'm an entrepreneur, right? Because I've always been entrepreneurial, but I definitely believed in going to school and learning from a company and taking what you learn and going off and doing something on your own, especially if you're someone who wants to become a parent, right? I think it's really important to have that flexibility personally in my life. So At the time, I just remember feeling like I was on a hamster wheel. I was get to every single week, and by the end of the week, I would burn out. I'd be literally in tears, like by Friday, because I was just like, how am I going to sustain this? How am I going to keep trying to run a blog business, do influencer marketing, figure out this whole thing while I'm also having a day job of being a marketer, managing these like 20, 30 plus teams, managing 50 plus campaigns in a day, like, because I was in advertising. It just felt like so much. I remember looking at my to-do list that I would write out every single day because, like many of us, I made a to-do list and I thought that would be the savior. I would do everything on my list and I would just fit it in between my meetings and at night, in the morning, and I would just kill it, right? But the thing about it was I would have this long to-do list and I would look at it every day and it would only be 9 a.m. and I'd be thinking, how the heck am I going to get through my day? Like, I would be full of anxiety. I'd be so nervous and scared, not knowing how I was going to go about it because I really had no system around it. And if you're someone like that, I want you to know that I've been there, right? Even though I'm coaching people on how to build their systems, it's not like I haven't failed at this before, right? So the thing that kind of kept me going was like, okay, I cannot keep getting to this place every single day where I'm full of anxiety, where I'm freaking out because I have 8 meetings. I work supposedly 8 hours, and I'm supposed to also get like 20 things done for work and then another like 10 things done at home, and then another 5 things done in my business. There was a lot of chaos going on. And I just remember smiling on the outside, but on the inside, I was screaming for help. So one of the first things I did was I did something called a time audit, which to me is like a normal thing now. But every time I mention time audits, I always hear from at least one person, oh my gosh, Shade, I've never heard of this. You taught me this new concept. I audited my time and it's changed my life. So if you've never audited your time, pretty much all it is taking an inventory of everything you do throughout the day. So you can do this easily on a sheet of paper. You could do what my clients use. I give them like an Excel time audit sheet. I can also even recommend using something like Toggle or Sunsama. I'll leave some of these tools in the description box so you guys can check it out. But the whole point of the time audit is to take an inventory of what you're spending your time on. And then after you've taken that inventory, you're gonna look for patterns. And this is like the biggest, best part of it all. You're gonna look for patterns of, okay, when do I like to eat? When do I like to sleep? When do I like to look at social media? When do I like to get my best work done? When do I do my priorities? When are my meetings usually? What kind of moods am I in on Monday versus Friday? Like, you're gonna look for patterns, cadences. And of course, if I'm your coach, I actually point these things out for you so you don't have to do them yourself. And if you're interested in coaching, that link is in the description. But for you, I want you to be able to just like really audit your time and look at like all the different scenarios and how things are working out for you. Because when I did this for myself, that's when I realized, oh, I'm burning out by Friday because I'm like literally pushing myself to the limit every single day. And the only time I let myself breathe is Friday nights. And I realized that's not sustainable and it's not working. And you need to streamline things, you need to context things, and you need to batch things in a different way. And we're going to talk about that. So the second thing I had to do was I really had to focus on prioritizing. Like, I had to prioritize ruthlessly. And when I say ruthlessly, I mean ruthlessly, you guys. I had to sacrifice things I no longer need to be doing. I had to change my mindset. I had to work rigorously on myself. And I don't say that to scare you, but I say that to be realistic, because sometimes people are acting like, oh, I just became successful overnight. And that's just not true. That's for most people that I've talked to that are successful. And I've been in masterminds with people who are making $1 million days. Okay. Like, I've seen amazing successful results, and it's not just monetary results. I've seen people have amazing family lives, amazing careers. Like, I've experienced different types of levels of success, people who are just genuinely happy. And what I've noticed is it takes a lot of work on yourself. So one of the things when it comes to prioritizing ruthlessly is that you have to figure out what are your top life focuses, right? And the top life focuses are going to change from season to season, year to year, decade to decade, right? For me, my 20s was all about growing my career, figuring out myself, getting self-aware, noting my patterns, starting my business, like really trying things out, traveling the world. I've been to 32 countries, right? And then I knew in my 30s, I was going to be so focused on family, finances. Like, those were going to be my main focuses because I plan to bang out these kids in my 30s, God willing, right? And I knew that this is the time for that. And I knew my 40s would be a totally different decade. So you can kind of think about, okay, for each maybe year, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, 20 years, however you want to break it up. Think about what are my life focuses. So you want to think about what are my non-negotiables based on what I'm focusing. Am I focusing on wellness? Am I focusing on my business? Am I focusing on my family? Like, think about what are your bigger goals and then look at the themes of what your focuses are. And only you can determine that. And if you're struggling to determine that, of course, I'm going to recommend journaling, taking time to reflect, taking some quiet time to go on a walk or meditate and think about, what do I really want in my life? What are the main goals that I want to achieve in the next like year, 2 years, or whatever time frame you choose? And that's going to determine what your focuses should be. I wouldn't recommend having like 10 life focuses at a time. It's just too much. And maybe you have two top focuses or three max. Of course, I just mentioned that I have two, but you can even have one. There's no limit, but I wouldn't go over like 3 life focuses, because you really want to drill down on those focuses, because that's going to help you to know what you're going to prioritize. Knowing what you're going to prioritize high level helps you to prioritize on a micro level, okay? And on a micro level, I just mean like what you're going to prioritize day to day. Because what you're going to look at is, okay, these are my main life priorities right now. And then based on those categories, here's my top goals for the next quarter. Based on that, here's the projects I'm working on. Here's the tasks I'm working on day to day to ladder up to me reaching that goal within the next quarter, within the next half of the year, within the next year. The next thing you're going to do is design your ideal week. And I think this is such an amazing exercise for everyone I've ever worked through with this. They love this exercise. I want you to think of your week as a blank canvas, okay? And then I want you to just literally write out how you want to spend the week. And if you want a template for this, in my time management starter kit, not only do I give you a template, but I give you a detailed training and I give you a video of me coaching someone through this, so you know exactly how to do it for yourself and you're able to submit it to me for feedback. So if you haven't downloaded your time management starter kit, listen here, you need to go to the description and go and download that. But in your ideal week, I want you to write out how you want your week to go. Now, of course, when I say ideal, we have to also be realistic, because the funny thing is I've worked with so many women, and this never gets old to me, because I'll say, let's work on your ideal schedule. And then they'll start to work on it with me. And then I'm like, well, this is very ideal, right? This is so unrealistic for you right now that this is a little too ideal, right? We have to also plug in the actual hours we have already allocated to things based on where we're at in our lives. So yes, it's ideal, but ideal with realistic time-bound frames, right? So when you're writing your week, I recommend starting off with the hours you need to allocate to certain things. So like if you have a certain sleep schedule you want to follow, that's one of the first things you put in. If you have a certain time for your meals, put those things in. If you have a certain hours for your job, put those hours in. And I want to highlight that sometimes during this time, depending on what your focus is, you may need to sacrifice some things. So if your focus is like growing your career or getting a promotion, maybe you're going to double down and spend a couple, different days late at work because you're trying to get things done. Or maybe you're going to be more present in certain meetings or talk to certain people or hire certain people into your team, right? Depending on your focus, that's how you should be building out your schedule. So this schedule is going to change from time to time based on your focuses. Maybe you're not in the place where you're like, I want to grow 9 to 5. I kind of want to maintain, which is where I was like back in like 2017. I want to, or like probably like 2019 more so for that. But I wanted to maintain my 9 to 5, like still be doing well. But I was okay with slacking a little bit. And I know that's controversial. I know that's a little hot take, but I was okay with like not going above and beyond, because I was like, if I can just maintain here, I can go build about my business and I can kill it in my business. I can start hosting events. I could start like doing more things. I could start helping more clients. I could start getting myself out there more and getting better content, writing more, focusing on learning new things for the business. And in order to do that, I needed to figure out where I was going to drill it down with my energy and then turn it up in my energy in certain areas. And when you're building your schedule, I want you to think about what you're going to turn up and what you're going to turn down. Do you want to start working out and get more fit, have more energy? Then you're going to have to really allocate that time. When I started working out, one of the things I did, and I've talked about this before, but I treated my workouts like they were meetings, and it was super important. That means I shut down my computer no matter what. I went to get my workout in. Even if I had to open my computer back up later, that was a priority for me. That was a focus. So I made the sacrifices necessary to get that thing done. So only you can determine this. So go ahead, start writing out your ideal lifestyle schedule. And then the fourth thing you're going to do is make strategic sacrifices. So I kind of already hinted at it, but you're going to make sure that you have written out your boundaries for the next time. I would say the next 90 days, depending on whatever your time frame is for this, but I'm going to say 90 days because the 90 days is a really great time to get your goals in order, especially if you're watching this as it airs. We're in the thick of the end of the year, and it's a great time to think about, okay, what am I going to sacrifice for the next 90 days so I can already be my 2026 self right now? And I know for me, like I had to start cutting back on TV at this time. Like when I was working my 9 to 5, I really had to figure out how to manage my day. So I would wake up, I would have a really distinct sync morning routine, and I knew I needed to not be too rushed, because when I would wake up rushed, it would affect how I presented myself at work. It would represent how rushed I was, how I felt as I was like walking to the train station, because I was living in New York at this time. It would impact me and my anxiety while I was on the train, right? All of the things, right? Because when you're already late for work, you're already thinking about and you're spiraling before you even get there. So I had to figure out, okay, what is the time I need to actually wake up? And how can I make sure that I'm allocating my morning a certain way? I'm setting things up. I have my clothes ready. I have my lunch ready. I have my dinner already thought out, or I've already talked to my boyfriend at the time. He wasn't my husband yet. And we already talked about who's handling this, who's handling that at home, because at the time he was working from home. And having those things laid out really, really helped me, because then at work, I already knew, okay, if I can get XYZ done by this time, I have this meeting at this time, and like really building out my day helped me to figure out, like, maybe I'll sacrifice that meeting so I can get this thing done. Or maybe I will make sure that I sacrifice TV 3 nights of the week so I can do more on my business. Or maybe I'll sacrifice TV so I can get to the gym and then spend extra time on the cardio because I'm trying to hit extra goals. Like, you can always find the time different places. Like, I was actually talking to this woman on Threads because she was like, oh my God, I just wish I could get to the gym again, but I can't. And I asked her one simple question to open her mind up, because this is what we do as coaches, right? What could you give up so that you could get into the gym? And as soon as I asked her that, then she had a whole answer of what she could actually do it. And I thought, okay, bam. Stop complaining about the things you think you can't do. Just sacrifice something so you can do it. In order to add things into our lives, we have to subtract things. And most people don't want to hear that. Every time I tell a client that, they're like, no, I just want to have it all. You can have it all, sis, but you cannot have it all at the same daggone time, right? We have to pick and choose what we're going to focus on. It doesn't mean that in your whole lifespan that you won't hit all the goals you want to hit, but you're just not going to hit all of them right this second. And we have to be okay with that by being able to set really clear boundaries that we follow, that we implement ourselves, so that others around us also abide by and also adhere to. Because if we don't take ourselves serious, other people will not take us serious with our boundaries and our sacrifices as well. This is the time to really show yourself a lot of love and discipline by implementing these strategies that I gave you today. When it comes to really making sure you have everything included in your day, I'm talking business, family, friends, your full-time job, you have to realize that just working off a to-do list is not going to work. You can treat a to-do list like your brain dump. That's how I like to treat my to-do list. Treat your to-do list like a brain dump. Always start off with that brain dump, but then really compare it against your goals and against your ideal lifestyle schedule, and figure out, okay, what do I actually have the time and capacity to get done? Where are my focuses right now? Am I putting in time for the business? Am I treating it like these are my actual office hours that I'm working? Because what I've seen with people who want to start side businesses is they know how to show up for their job and their boss and their team at work. But then when it comes to showing up for their business, their clients, and all of the things in their business, they don't always take it as serious. And when you're starting out, I get that, because it feels like, well, I'm not even making any money. Why the heck would I take it very serious? But you have to take it serious. I remember when I was becoming an entrepreneur, I had to shift my mindset to, when I go to work, these are my clients. When I go into my business, these are also my clients. They're just different clients. And I need to treat them just as serious, right? The products that you sell, the services that you provide in your business, or the business you aspire to have, you need to take it as serious as you take your 9-to-5 job. And you need to have set office hours for it. And that is how serious I take every part of my life that matters to me. So I take that into my wellness, meaning my meal prepping, my health overall, like getting my appointments done, my sleeping patterns, my mental health, making time for my self-care. I take that into consideration when it comes to spending time with my family, my friends, my husband. Like, all of the things that matter to you need to get plugged in and scheduled. And not in a rigid way, meaning like you need to have every second of your schedule or every second of your calendar blocked off, or every second of your planner something's written in. No, you want to have flexibility. You want to have free time. You also don't want to have like tight structures for everything, because then without buffers, you tend to underestimate what you need to get done and how much time you have to do it. But the idea here is that you at least am thinking through how these things are going to happen, because oftentimes when things aren't on your calendar, they're not going to happen. When things aren't top of mind, they aren't going to happen. And that's why you realize you keep putting off that girls trip that you've been wanting to go on to reconnect with your friends after you've had your first baby, but you can somehow show up for your clients all the time and show up for your boss, right? Why is that happening? Because it's on your schedule and because you're being intentional and taking the time for it, and you keep pushing off the things that give you joy. And what I've noticed is the most successful people need to be doing things that also give them joy. Because when you're a high achiever, you want to achieve at everything. You don't want to just achieve in your career. You want to also achieve in your lifestyle, because you really value having your dream lifestyle and you see it as something that's completely attainable. So start acting like it by intentionally planning out your day. And of course, if you're thinking, oh, but I struggle with being consistent, I want you to make sure that you check out the next episode of the podcast. So stay tuned, make sure you are subscribed, because I'm going to go in depth on how to actually build out habits to become consistent that make it very, very simple. I've done past episodes on consistency, but I really think this next episode is going to drill it down very simply. So make sure you're subscribed and you keep note to next week when the next episode on consistency and habits is going to come out. But overall, I want you to know that you just need to start small, start simply. And if you do the things that I mentioned in today's episode, you will build up consistency. So do not worry about it. Believe in yourself, have faith, and have confidence. And let go of the guilt of thinking you need to do more, you need to be more, you need to do X, Y, and Z to be enough. Like, let all of that go as well, because I know that's also something that high achievers tend to harp on. Stop trying to be perfect and just aim for excellence. Excellence is attainable. I know you can do excellent things without the need to be perfect, okay? And I hope that was freeing for whoever needed that. And if you're someone who also worries a lot, start being curious instead. Replace worry with wonder. Wonder how things could go. Wonder what could happen when you change these strategies. Wonder what could happen when you do X, Y, Z and you really follow through and give yourself 10 years instead of 10 minutes, right? You have a lot of time to get things done. Okay, I know the internet will tell us we don't, but you have a lot of time, and a lot of people peak at later ages, and there's no limit to when you could peak if you are still here alive and breathing. Okay, so I hope that this episode was super helpful for you guys and that you now know how to make time for all of the things: business, love, family, relationships, self-care, all while working your full-time job. You can do this. You can get this money, honey. And I can't wait to see you actually succeed and get that dream life that you want to be living, because you're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. And if you keep working on yourself, keep doing the work, keep showing up, it is going to happen. Success is inevitable. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please comment below what was your biggest takeaway. I would love to hear that. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and also share this with at least 5 more people that you know need to hear this message, that wants to be doing more and succeeding more in different ways while working their full-time job, because there is nothing wrong with working a full-time job and having that safety if you want to keep your job or not. These are tips that you can use to really excel in the way that you want to. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye.